right, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome everybody. We are now at 11:09 on my clock, but around 10 minutes past on this Thursday, April 22nd. We are in week 99 of our IGU Summit event. There was a last minute change yesterday afternoon. Been trying to have a guest speaker. His name is Razak Otu from Ghana. He's with a hospitality consulting and training business in that country, but he has yet to answer my calls. So we did do a last minute change for today, and we have a different guest speaker coming on with us. Hopefully he will be arriving fairly soon from our own internal global Unity network, UnityNet Africa and Diaspora in Malawi. But I do want to start, as always, with the land acknowledgement. So we do acknowledge those who came before us on this land. We begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples. We recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we're meeting on here in the Greater Toronto area is the traditional territory of many nations, and on the land known as Takaranto, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Wendat, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, along with the Anishinaabe, which is now home to many diverse peoples. We'd also like to acknowledge the land we are on here is at the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 and is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. We also acknowledge the Two-Row Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Six Nations of the Takaranto watershed and the settlers, an agreement that bound them to work together, but to develop their societies in parallel on these shared lands. In our role as settlers and displaced people on this land, we share the responsibility of challenging and disrupting colonial systems that enact violence upon the land and stand in solidarity with Indigenous peoples. We'd like to thank the Indigenous peoples of these lands, including First Nations, Inuit, and Métis, for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. So with that, I do also like to say Sawubona, which means I see you, I see myself in you, I see your hopes, your dreams, and your struggles. I see your ancestors as well, because interconnectedness does not end with two people who are greeting each other. It extends to include the ancestors. All beings in Mother Nature are interconnected. There is no sense of being separate. I see myself in all beings, and therefore, if I harm other beings or Mother Nature, it translates into harming myself. What I do like to say for those who may be on the line from Africa, of course, is Asante Sana, which is thank you very much in Swahili. And we were just talking about looking for translators. So Swahili is the first Indigenous language that we had been promoting, since many of our network members are from Africa as well. And I'm seeing right now that we are getting at least one more person onto our call. So thank you for joining us today again for this IGU Summit event on April 22nd or 27th, Thursday. So this April 27th, week 99 of our IGU Summit event series. I do like to start with an introduction of who I am, who we are, what we do, with the overall purpose of UnityNet being to establish a global network of community Unity Garden learning centers where hybrid exchange programs and practical learning will be delivered by the members of UnityNet's partners in all and to all members of the GP4RD our learning partnership for global unity. The learning programs are intended to be delivered through the Global Sister Schools program in partnership with the members of the Global Unity Network. What we do is to twin our local INAB collaborative communities through the CTP program of the Science for Peace Drawdown Markham Community Climate Action Hub, which has a goal of building holistic, regenerative, climate-smart communities here in the greater Toronto bioregion in support of the UnityNet and AHIABGA project of globalization of the global goals and the establishment of a localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So today, I will be putting, of course, additional links into the chat. It looks like the person that was trying to get on our call earlier wasn't able to do so, unfortunately. Hopefully they are not having some problems, and that isn't our speaker for today who's trying to come on. So as we move forward, I do like to say again on who we are as an organization. So UnityNet International is here in the greater Toronto area of Canada. We help local communities to establish these local empowerment networks, these localized multi-stakeholder coalitions that will help to attract ESG-based funding for local productive humanitarian entrepreneurs. We'd like to build a national network of researchers and developers and educators for the globalization of the global goals with our priority actions focused on regenerative development or regenerative living and lifestyles, which includes regenerative infrastructure and regenerative finance. For us here in UnityNet Canada and UnityNet Ontario, both the greater Toronto area and the Ottawa Valley, the city of Ottawa being the capital of our country, and where, of course, national decisions are being made, are also going to be very important hubs of activity, especially around the delivery of these local solutions for achieving sustainable energy for all and regenerative housing and shelter and habitat for all, along with regenerative food for all, through these local partnership ecosystems, thus helping to demonstrate and achieve what we call holistic, healthy communities for all. So the specific areas of focus for UnityNet are renewable energy and sustainable agriculture or regenerative farming and food production, grown in the regenerative, various regenerative infrastructure solutions, the climate smart way, along with regenerative water management and waste management, circular economy solutions for the purpose of economic growth and expansion, but specifically done the regenerative climate smart way, along with supporting integrated localized habitat solutions for regenerative holistic living, along with learning and lifestyle developments, redevelopments that help to achieve a localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Because within such developments and within the paradigm, it should be possible to continue achieving economic growth at the same time as we repair the planet, as we continue along this pathway of figuring out how to create a robust and resilient and equitable economic system that doesn't require continuous and expanding extraction and degradation of ecosystems to survive, and to be both stable and sustainable and leave no one behind. So our main question to those whom we partner with, how can we help you to succeed in your business as the entire economy moves toward a relocalized or localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that seeks to leave no one behind in all of our local communities worldwide. So what we are doing in UnityNet, and I'm just looking to see that we don't have our guest speaker yet. Please let me know if he does come on the line. So what we do in UnityNet through the Drawdown Markham Youth Task Force and done through the work of UnityNet International and our partners in UnityNet Africa and Diaspora especially, is to establish local INAB collaboratives. And so these interfaith, neighborhood, academic, and business collaboratives are intended to empower our local productive humanitarian entrepreneurs in each of our own local communities, with the overarching goal to establish a global network of local INAB collaboratives. So these humanitarian entrepreneurs are members of these INAB collaboratives, and they include also the GP4RD members, who are the ones who will also deliver the practical local regenerative solutions for achieving these global goals, those SDGs, locally, or as we say, locally. The purpose of the INAB collaboratives is not only to empower the local humanitarian entrepreneurs, but also to help organize the ongoing community engagement, as well as delivering the education and training in the local solutions that are required for local people to understand how to create and run things locally in their own local communities in order to become more resilient, self-sufficient, and decolonized, to better adapt to climate change, to boost their local economies, to ensure equity, and also ensure that nobody is being left behind in their own local communities. So the INAB collaboratives also ensure transparency and accountability, and are the vehicle through which we can demonstrate regenerative finance, where a portion of the monies that are spent in the community will stay in the community, and where a portion of the productive profits from these local regenerative community enterprises are also used to help others in their own local watersheds and bioregions. This is done in order to ensure that nobody is being left behind, and where some of those funds could also be used to help others around the world, and to ensure that all local communities can become self-sufficient and resilient and regenerative. Our ultimate purpose is ensuring that every local community in the UnityNet network has an INAB collaborative and a cooperative humanitarian enterprise network that's not only localizing global goals, but is also helping their local communities to achieve this localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. Our goal is that by 2030, it will be recognized by those in finance that providing things like insurance products or infrastructure or insurance for other insurance companies, and doing any local projects or infrastructure developments in any local community anywhere on Earth shouldn't get that financing until there's an active and functional INAB collaborative in that local community, made up of the community members and their allies globally. But how do we start this whole process? We start the discussions in our local communities by working with young people, their teachers, their families, and their neighbors to begin organizing, planning, and building a network of local youth peace gardens. It's in these gardens where we'll be able to spread the message of UnityNet and all that we seek to achieve, because our message involves peace, the change in the paradigm of dialogue. We must always remember that we are fighting with peace and not for it, which means using higher consciousness in achieving our objectives. We're not fighting a war with each other to save the planet. We're making peace with the planet to save ourselves. This strategy, delivered at the grassroots level in all of our local communities, will allow us to create a shared consciousness with peacemaking that is more contagious than fear or war. The strategy was originally coined by our partners in the Greater Unity Network, who called it the Gaia's Guitar strategy, and where the message will be centered around the elements and symbols of peace that we wish to incorporate into every local community of UnityNet. These include the youth peace gardens established in each local community, with a tree of peace and reconciliation planted in the garden, and possibly also an Indigenous unity flag raised in a location nearby, in those places where it is a recognized symbol, along with a peace pole erected in a conspicuous location with high foot traffic within or next to the garden. These are the symbols of the UnityNet Youth Peace Garden Network, which also includes the Community Unity Garden Learning Centers, and will allow us to create sacred spaces in all of our local communities. These sacred spaces will also be mapped onto a dynamic UnityNet sacred site and watershed map, and are symbolic of the community of humanity coming together in peace, reconciliation, and forgiveness, and the restoration of our relationship with Mother Earth and each other, because this is the only way that we'll be able to ensure that all of humanity and all our relations will be able to survive in the climate of the future. Again, looking at our guest, or seeing if our guest speaker is on the line. I am seeing that he has been trying several times. I've pressed admit probably 4 or 5 times already, and he seems to be having trouble getting into the Zoom call this morning, which is a little bit unfortunate. So I will continue, however. So again, my name is Lloyd Halferty, co-founder of UnityNet International. So UnityNet International, also known as Uni, a hybrid holistic practical learning system management company based here in Canada that assists with community partnership building locally and globally, or as we like to say, locally, by leveraging our unique set of community engagement activities developed in partnership with the members of the ad hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors. As I'm also the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and the Sustainable Society Consultant for Energyme Institute, which is headquartered in Manhattan, in New York, in the US. I'm also located, however, in the city of Markham in the Don River watershed, German Wills Creek as the sub-watershed, which drains into Lake Ontario, which is the lowest and last of the North American Great Lakes in the Great Lakes Basin of the Greater Toronto Bioregion, or GTB, in Southern Ontario, Canada, North America, here on Turtle Island. Energyme Institute is a private 501(c) nonprofit company in New York, a member of the UN Global Compact, a UN academic impact member partner. We are a virtual university. We were created to help empower global populations reestablish a sustainable balance with our local environments. Energyme does this by designing and implementing projects that support a strong and diversified local economy, while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into these communities in the areas of renewable energy, high-density food growth solutions, and systems for sustainably managing local waste streams and protecting local water resources. Energyme is supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies we employ. Importantly, Energyme Institute also supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of all the various integrated solutions for achieving closed-loop systems that in turn support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. Now, again, we still don't have a guest speaker on with us. I don't know if we're going to be going on. I think both of the people on our call today so far, Lisa and Stephanie, have heard many of these things already that I've been repeating every week. There isn't too much more in terms of this, but there's no update to our calendar this week. But I do like to talk about events coming up. I show this calendar, this what we call Living calendar, that's being created since the beginning of this year. This does reflect our Drawdown Markham and UnityNet GTA plan for 2023, revolving around those 5 key community engagement events in April, May, June, August, and October. With the 5 events, including UNDRIP Day on Earth Day, last Saturday, April 22nd. We had this event. It's now in our rear view mirror. It took place just this past Friday and Saturday. An update for today, for those who may not have heard it, it is very possible that I might find myself in Taiwan in the next couple of weeks, possibly as soon as the end of this month. What I will also be doing is also before I leave, but even after, we'll be following up by contacting a gentleman that I heard last week being interviewed on CBC Radio. His name is Ricardo Larivière. He is a chef in Quebec who lamented that Canada is the only G20 country in the world that does not have a school food program. And this is not something that we talked about yesterday, Stephanie, but it is something that I think we can move forward with as well. So I noted last week that when I asked the question, what can we do about this fact that there is no school food program in Canada? So I'd like for people on this call today, especially Stephanie, to come together with me here in Canada through UnityNet Canada. We would like to expand that network, and globally through other continental networks across the rest of Turtle Island and Africa and Asia and Europe, to create a new UnityNet global school food program, but starting right here in Canada, by working with partners across the spectrum, from the national government to the provincial governments, to the local municipal governments, to the school boards, to the Rotary clubs and the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Clubs and all of those UN Global Compact corporations, working with restaurants and restaurant associations and with farmers and food producers and food supply chain organizations and anyone else who wants to work with us to create a national school food program in Canada that focuses on fresh, nutritious, local, regenerative, and climate smart food that is delivered to and by our local teachers and schools and local families in our local communities, with the goal, of course, of teaching young people and all of their family members, friends, and their local community members about the solutions that will allow us to adapt to and potentially even to thrive in a warming climate, and to achieve a globalized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, and regenerative economy that truly leaves no one behind. So this is something that I mentioned last week very briefly after I heard the CBC interview, and you can see in the chat Ricardo La Rivière and his campaign to create a national food program. And I'm sure because of that interview, he's probably being overwhelmed by people who are contacting him as well to assist in this effort. But we would like to be part of that conversation as well, especially as we move forward in our conversations with people like Mitch Gold and Patrick Chun in Vancouver. So now, continuing in our yearly calendar, our very next event is, since we did this UNDRIP event already, our next event is World Biodiversity Day, which is Sunday, May 22nd. And I'm seeing Patrick is still trying to get onto our call. This is good that he keeps trying. But World Biodiversity Day, Sunday, May 22nd. We have not done this before. It is new. It is not published, but you might have seen it in our calendar that I showed earlier. It was a bright green square in the middle of that calendar. The next event after this is our Abraham Project, the Tree Planting Day on Monday, June 5th, 2023, which is World Environment Day. And this is where we plant those trees of peace and reconciliation in the youth peace gardens that are being established by the young people in our local communities. Following this is the International Youth Day on Saturday, August 12th, where we want to do our community globally coordinated Bubble Fun festivals during our UnityNet Community Unity Weeks. So there is a gentleman that I connected to yesterday morning as well here in Toronto. He's with a network that's connected to some of the black people in the US who are building the Black Folks Plan and moving forward with their reconciliation program. As they develop their own network, we would like to integrate ours here in Canada with theirs through their connections that they have here in Canada. So following this event, the Bubble Fun Festival is also our Youth Peace Weeks in October. So this is the culmination of our yearly calendar, starting on Global Cooperation Day, Wednesday, October 4th, 2023. This is the date of our Ubuntu Summit, the online virtual event, which also includes not just Youth Peace Weeks, but also the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum, which is our primary hybrid learning week program that takes place until Monday, October 16th, World Food Day. So I will be following up as well with a conversation with a gentleman here in the Toronto area. His name is Peter Halali. He would like to work with us directly to see if we can find a local school, whether it's in the York Region District School Board or the Toronto Region District School Board where he is living in order to organize for all of the rest of these events, but in particular, the tree planting on World Environment Day, June 5th. So I had also added to our calendar the Somos Avalon Maya event, the spiritual event that takes place with the Maya in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So these events were shown in pink on that living room calendar. And those were brought to our attention by Mitch Gold, who said to me earlier this month that he is looking at how to connect the two energies of the eagle and the condor. So one last thing I wanted to mention is that Tuesday, January 17th, which was, of course, the beginning of this year, we did have our first Drawdown Markham virtual event. We did discuss at that time establishing PodNet GTA as an enterprise network. This is intended to support the 25 INAB collaboratives that we intend to create here in the Greater Toronto area. But I did mention in the past weeks here in Markham and the Greater Toronto area, we'll be doing everything through those INAB collaboratives, including demonstrating the regenerative gardens, forests, farms, and buildings, along with the kitchens and the regenerative finance. And of course, we'll also be empowering our humanitarian entrepreneurs who are localizing global goals in each of our own local communities. So again, I'd like to ask everyone that may be watching this. We are, of course, being live streamed wherever you are in the world. Our global Unity network, this network of networks, consists of the local and localized multi-stakeholder partnerships, those interfaith neighborhood, academic, and business collaboratives. These are the cooperative community organizations who we would like to leverage and begin changing this paradigm of development locally, one community at a time. So the last few weeks, I did also mention as well the other things to consider with the FAO and their newsletter in January, noting that 2023 is the International Year of Millets. So this is something that, for instance, I mentioned last week, our colleagues in India are focusing on right now. COP15 was also mentioned, especially around the adoption of the Kunming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. Important because this also established a set of global biodiversity goals. So the new goals from this past December at the biodiversity meeting in Montreal should be what we are supporting, as well as the SDGs. So not only the global goals, but also the biodiversity goals, which need to be translated into national goals in each country, considering each country's circumstances and priorities. So I will be putting details in the chat if there are any updates. But also important is the 2023 SDG Summit. So we have called for a meeting tomorrow, a Zoom call with a lady by the name of Madeline Mkuno from Leading Women of Africa. So I have invited Bill Sosinski to also take part in that Zoom call. I will be sharing that after this IGU Summit by email. But during that call, I do want to remind Bill about this event at the UN General Assembly High Level Week, which takes place, of course, in Manhattan, in New York, in his own backyard from September 19th to 20th, where we're hoping that it may be possible to have some of our members across our network potentially attending that event in New York, where they will be reviewing the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and those 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So I did add this to our calendar. Again, I'm hopeful we can have a presence at that event, possibly in collaboration with the Energyme Institute and potentially also with We the World, Rick Ulfik, who is also a partner of We Energyme Global Cooperation Turtle Island. So those SDG Summit, again, I will put that information in the chat so that people will remember that that is something that needs to be discussed earlier than later, better than try to organize anything at the last minute. So there's a number of other links, but as we move forward, especially with our legacy projects here in Markham, I had already started conversations with the people of the 7th Generation Initiative, and especially Dr. Jose Echeverry, part of and leader on the 7th Generation GTB team here in Markham. But we are going to take a new approach to our engagement with York University. I've been talking with a gentleman by the name of Galgalo. He is in northern Kenya, so we are moving forward. He is going to be writing an email so that he can engage with another department at York University. He's going to be asking me to please make connections with a different department at the York U Markham campus. So we hope again that we will be able to meet with other leaders of the legacy team, the 7th Generation Initiative here in Markham, Brian Pupa and Susan Bozak, and have conversations as well with Charles Hopkins, the UNESCO chair in reorienting education towards sustainability at York University. And again, hoping that Stephanie Schuller, with her connections to the University of Toronto, Boise, may be able to initiate some of these conversations, especially with the UNESCO chair at York University, because this is now beyond just looking at York and its university, but looking also at the network of CIFAL centers, the CIFAL centers, which is a global network, which I'm sure the UNESCO chair is also working closely with them because they were established under that mandate. So as we move forward in the different countries, we should work with these existing networks because as we learned on Tuesday, March 21st, during the Drawdown Markham Zoom meeting delivered by Leslie Adams, the Biodiversity and Sustainable Development Goals campaigner from the Sierra Club Canada Foundation, it is UNESCO that is doing the work of renewal of the SDGs ahead of 2030, where she noted that the UNDP development program already has a lot in there already. So all of this can be taught to young people through the proposed Global Unity School Food Program, starting with these national school food programs, if we can develop it here in Canada. So this is noted before. We would like to have a conversation with the founders and leaders of the Maple Leaf Center for Action on Food Security with regard to any potential school food program we might be able to do here in Canada, because Maple Leaf Foods has claimed to be the first major carbon neutral company in the world, and also has set ambitious science-based targets to reduce the carbon emissions even further. Specifically, Maple Leaf Foods has already started their investments in regenerative agriculture, representing, as they say, quote, a significant industry milestone. So I also included, or I will include in the chat, a YouTube video by Michael McCain, President and CEO of Maple Leaf Foods, stating their commitment to become what he calls the most sustainable protein company on earth. So we have several avenues of engagement with these various corporations as we move forward and implement these programs. So again, there is York University, but the more important part of, I think, our engagement is now as well for the UNESCO chair in reorienting education toward sustainability. So there is also a link I am sharing with regard to the 75th anniversary, launching the conversation around global cooperation in building the future we want. So there is also some links to the network of Futures of Education Ideas Lab. So again, we want to connect our network care of Our colleague Anis Sutvin, who is on with us, who is developing these engagement strategies, especially with our artists and as well through the arts and culture and sports as well, so that we can engage in this conversation about how do we reorient education towards sustainability. So we also have as well the Canadian Sports Institute of Ontario and that proposal to create a multi-sports park here in Markham. We're hoping as well, of course, to speak with people like Susan Bozak, who's also delivering programs, especially for young people, by engaging those young people with elderly people and retired folks in our communities, so they can act as mentors for these young people moving forward. So again, you'll see that link, as I noted before, with regard to the YouTube from Michael McCain, President and CEO of McCain Foods or Maple Leaf Foods, and his specific quotes that he mentioned in that video. So as we move forward again, there are a number of links that I think we should connect with these people. Of course, we have a small team, so we move forward as we can. So again, a reminder that I attended as well an event on Wednesday, April 12th here in Markham, hosted by the Markham Arts Council and Markham Talent. They had a press conference to announce the second time this 2023 open casting call, their first ever talent hunt for performing artists in Markham, where the announcement at that time was a departure from the previous call, where they expanded their call for artists from all across Ontario. So in other words, performing artists will not be bound by geographical boundaries. This is in their words. And auditions from all cities in Ontario are being accepted. Of course, it's not yet a call for artists outside of Canada or even Ontario, not yet anyways, so maybe next year. But they want to identify performing artists, including dancers, singers, actors, models, magicians, etc., who will get an opportunity to showcase their talent to an exemplary judging panel that includes Juno Award-winning member Adiri O'Brien, casting director Banan Levy, producer and iDance choreographer and casting director of The Next Step, Amy Wright, singer-songwriter iJuno Award nominee Robert Laidlaw, talent manager Patricia Jaroz, model agent and manager Cynthia Cully, the Dean of York University's School of Arts, Media Production and Design, Dr. Sarah Bei Cheng, actress Samantha O'Quin, actor Lucas Nguyen, Chalet studio owner David Chest, and perhaps most importantly, Toronto's top runway coach, Jessica Gregory, with many prizes and cash prizes for the winners. I did have a good conversation with the personal assistant of Amanda Young Colucci, who's our Ward 6 counselor here in Markham, who organized that event and took place 2 weeks ago. She also introduced me to Amanda, who I also explained to her what we're doing. So Councillor Colucci indicated that she would very much like, actually in her words, definitely like to follow with more discussions, but probably, she said, after May 1st, which is now only a few days away. So I at that event, I also talked with many other people about our UnityNet community, Unity Garden Learning Centers network concept, and the fact that we'd like to approach the development of these centers through engagement with local and global artists and through community-to-community partnerships. And I was very surprised by the overwhelmingly positive response that I received, and hope to also follow up with at least one other person who I had talked to, and that is Toronto's top runway coach, Jessica Gregory, who is a modeling coach, especially for young people who are new to modeling, new to acting, new to performance, and potentially also new to Canada. In particular, I'd like to invite Jessica to have a conversation with Janice Da Silva in Cabo Verde about their One Dress, One Smile initiative to promote cultural exchange and global solidarity through fashion. I will also invite Jessica and her colleagues to join and promote the UnityNet Fashion Cultural Exchange Network, which was originally created with Janice, one of our key AHIABGA Goodwill ambassadors, who's also promoting the adoption of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure and humanitarian enterprise solutions through her connections with UN Habitat. So I will be sending out an email in introduction to Toronto's top runway coach, Jessica Gregory, as a follow-up to our discussions. And I will also copy Amanda Young-Colucci, Ward 6 councillor here in Markham, who organized the City of Markham's first ever talent hunt for performing artists across all of Ontario. So we'll have a discussion about establishing our first UnityNet Community Unity Garden Learning Center and Unity Hub and Unity Peace Center right here in Markham. First, though, by establishing the Markham INAP Collaborative, by partnering with the schools and some local corporations and SMEs in Markham to plant those youth peace gardens, where we can also work with whatever companies or organizations, NGOs and CBOs or otherwise, that would like to help establish those gardens here, to assist in the process of partnering with other local INAP collaboratives globally, so we can, all of us, begin the long process of localizing the global goals and achieving a localized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So I think with that, I may just end the call today. It seems like we don't have our guest speaker. I am putting into the chat a little bit or a couple of these things that I talked about. But before we complete today, again, Thursday, April 27th, I don't know why I keep saying 22nd, 27th. Again, not a special day in the calendar, but we are also, and this is something I want to note as well in the email I'll send out, we are still in World Creativity and Innovation Week. So I will be sharing that in the chat as one more time. This is also World Immunization Week, which started on April 24th, on Monday. This is an event by the World Health Organization, where World Immunization Week is celebrated in the last week of April, and aims to highlight the collective action needed to protect people from vaccine-preventable diseases. Of course, we also want to involve organizations here in the Greater Toronto area in Canada, like the Physicians for Global Environment and other organizations, where we can connect again with the physicians who really are very concerned about things like climate change. And where the next big events we have in April coming up as well, I wanted to note our International Jazz Day, which is again a UNESCO event on April 30th. With Jazz Day is an international day declared by the UN Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, in 2011, quote, to highlight jazz and its diplomatic role of uniting people in all corners of the globe. So it's celebrated annually on April 30th. The idea came from jazz pianist and UNESCO Goodwill Ambassador Herbie Hancock. Jazz Day is chaired by Hancock and the UNESCO Director General. The celebration is recognized on the calendars of both UNESCO and the United Nations. And so International Dance Day, April 29th. I'm just seeing that Lisa Anise has written that into our chat. That's something I have not heard of. So we'll have to look that up and perhaps share that information as well with all of the members on our network, especially those in the WhatsApp groups. So again, also coming up before our next meeting on next Wednesday or next Thursday is World Press Freedom Day. Again, a UNESCO day on May 3rd, which is also World Tuna Day, but I didn't look up that information. But the UN General Assembly declared May 3rd to be World Press Freedom Day or World Press Day, observed to raise awareness of the importance of freedom of the press and remind governments of their duty to respect and uphold the right of freedom of expression enshrined under Article 19 of the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. and marking the anniversary of the Windhoek Declaration, a segment or a statement of free press principles put together by African newspaper journalists in Windhoek in 1991. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to look up all of this information about the Windhoek Declaration or some other things, but of course, I had some limited time this morning to prepare this event. And I wanted to remind everybody again, this past Saturday was Earth Day, or International Mother Earth Day, referred to us here in UnityNet as UNDRIP Day, which is of course Saturday, April 22nd, where we also did our UnityNet drumming ceremony. And I was lucky enough to be able to spend a little bit of time with Stephanie at our City Hall on Friday, since it did rain on Saturday. So we don't define what you want to achieve in your own or even our own local communities. We just look at the headlines, say, how can we help you to achieve your goals, whatever they might be? We just have one basic criteria, and that is whatever we do as we partner with you in your organization, the outcome that we want to achieve is to bring us one step closer to that dream of achieving a globalized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind for all human beings, for all our relations globally, in all nations and on all continents of our one and only beautiful planet, Mother Earth, this speck of dust in the universe, the only place we know that has life, the only place in the universe where we will always be welcome, and it will always be something we call home. So again, you'll find in the chat information about the World Immunization Day, as well as some information about International Jazz Day, a couple of links there, and World Press Freedom Day, which are also the three events that I found this morning. Again, there's also a little bit of information about Earth Day one more time, which was just this past weekend. And I have also as well the links for two YouTube videos that we did create and publish, which we now have a channel on YouTube for all of these events as we do them this year. So we have a record in video of all the events that we're doing this time around as we do these events this year, 2023, as opposed to last year when we really didn't have very much of a record except on our own personal devices like our cell phones. So this time around we want to be more public. So again, as I noted, this is still World Creativity and Innovation Week. This will be something I will mention as we connect with our artists at the Markham Art Council. And there are other days not recognized in the UN calendar. I didn't get a chance to look at them, but people can look up in the final link that I'm sharing there, the April daily holidays and observances. Again, just look up Thursday, April 22nd, and you'll likely find a number of these events that are really interesting for us to celebrate. So I think with this, I am seeing it is 11:58, so it has been about 50 minutes of introduction. Our guest speaker has tried to get on with us many, many times. I actually lost count of the number of times he tried to come onto our call and was unable to, unfortunately. So it's a little bit disappointing because he had been attending these conferences, as noted just give me 1 second. My computer is deciding that it doesn't want to cooperate just here. Something is slowing me down. But Patrick Nkoma from UnityNet Malawi has been intending to give us an update. He actually sent me a presentation perhaps I can even go through it. It's a summary of the ECOSOC Youth Forum, which he has been attending. So what I will do is I will actually share the PDF file that he sent me this morning, which was a summary of the event that has been taking place for the past few days, which he has been attending virtually. So it is a hybrid event. Let me see, view, Zoom, no, full screen. There we go. I can share my screen with everybody so they can at least see. I'm going to stop share for the other and share my screen again. So this was the presentation that our guest speaker today was for us. And even spent, I guess, some time doing this for us at the very last minute, just this morning. His own time, of course, he's in Malawi, which is the same time as South Africa. But the title of this was a summary presentation about the Economic and Social Council, or ECOSOC Youth Forum, that took place from 25th to 27th April 2023. Again, I am putting in a link if my computer will actually behave here. Put the link to that ECOSOC forum into the chat, as well as a link to the related network that, of course, Patrick is now moving forward to try to establish the UnityNet Africa and Diaspora as an international nonprofit. Okay, thank you so much, Lisa Anise, for coming on our call today. So you can see here, this was the original presentation that Patrick was intending to present to us today. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do it for us. To present on the ECOSOC Youth Forum. We will try to see if we can perhaps have him come on and do a brief summary of this next week, if at all possible. Obviously, he had quite a bit of problems coming on our call today and trying so many times to connect with us. Oh my, look who's coming on the call now. Is Gabriela. I think with the time shift we had, once again, there is maybe perhaps some confusion about when these events actually start. It looks like we're now having everybody coming on to our call thinking that it started right now rather than an hour ago. So we now have Malika and Samson also joining us. So we will continue for a little bit longer to see if we can perhaps have a conversation. For those who are just joining us, Malika and Samson, I had done the introduction already. This did start an hour ago, so there's the time shift again. Of course, here in Canada, we are still doing what we call daylight savings time. So that's why you'll see when I'm writing the time of our Zoom calls, you'll see in the winter, I write 11 a.m. EST, which is Eastern Standard Time. And in the summer, I write EDT, which is Eastern Daylight Time, which means 1 hour difference. So here, right now in Toronto, it is actually 12 noon, or just a little bit after, where we did start at 11. So just keep in mind that we do still have these time shifts that happen every year. at least until somebody decides, I think in the US, to actually make that change, where I think in the US, the decision was made that they would no longer do that, but it actually has not been implemented. And Canada is likely just going to follow along in whatever the US decides to do. So thank you, Malaika, and thank you, Samson. We were, again, unfortunately, not able to have our guest speaker on today. So Patrick Nkoma from UnityNet Malawi and UNAD was unable to log on. He's tried several times. I saw him trying to get onto this Zoom call today. I'm guessing he probably tried 7 or 8 times at least, but every time he just failed to be able to connect to the Zoom. So that is unfortunate. He did tell me that where he is located in Malawi, it's actually on a property right next to the lake, Lake Malawi. And he says he has very poor reception in terms of being able to connect from his location, because of course it is fairly late in the evening there, I think, for him. And I think he's trying to get connected to us from his home. And that just isn't happening for us, unfortunately. But I'd like to thank everybody for coming on today. You do see on the screen, this is the presentation that he was intending to give to us today. It was just a short summary. He did attend this event, which I believe took place from May 27th until May 24th until May 27th. So for the past few days, he was attending this forum. And so if there's any other things that we'd like to talk about today, I'm not sure if Stephanie or Malaika or Samson, you'd like to just say a few words, introduce yourself, and of course, if you haven't put your names and your contact information into the chat, please do so, because we do want to keep that record of who showed up on our call each week. This is an important thing for us to do, to track who's coming in to our calls, so we know who are the participants. That keep us in touch.
Yes, well, thank you,
Move forward,
Lord.
because we'll know who we are engaging with on a week-to-week basis. And of course, those who engage with us are going to be the first that we are going to continue our discussions with as we move forward here in Markham. Now, one thing I wanted to mention as well to both Malaika and Samson, and I did mention it at the beginning of this call today for Stephanie and Lisa Anise, who's also on with us earlier, is that there is a potential that I will find myself in Asia within the next week or two. My wife is from Taiwan, and there is something that we will need to be doing with her family. Most likely within the next few days, we will be arranging to actually go to Taiwan to work on those details. And so the possibility is that I will be doing this IGU Summit events for the rest of the year from Taiwan. Well, I don't know for the rest of the year, but at least for a few weeks time. Not exactly sure exactly how long we will be there, because this is sort of open-ended at this point in time. We're moving forward as we can. But thank you all for coming on. Again, I've gone through the opening. We were just waiting to see if it would be possible to have our guest speaker come on. We've been in this wait and see mode for the last little while.
Thank you, Lloyd. I don't think it ever came to fruition. Thank you so much, Stephanie Schuler from UnityNet International, and I'm also co-founder and co-director of Maui Aloha Project, Global Eco Village initiative for living, learning, and well-being community dedicated to conscious paradigms for a regenerative planet Earth and all of its inhabitants. Thank you so much, Lloyd, for your time always and your dedication to putting the systems together so that we can empower and uplift all communities around the world regarding food system security and climate action. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. Again, if Malaika or Samson would like to introduce themselves, please do so. If not, we will end the call.
Yes, Professor.
Hello, Malaika.
Yes, Professor. Good evening, everyone on call, and greetings from Uganda. I'm by the names Malaika Gabriela Ligami, Kampala, and I'm grateful to be part of this meeting this evening. I was looking forward to the presentation from Malawi, but I think it's network issues, and I'm so grateful. I'm the executive director of a local NGO, aged care organization, JAFOA, that advocates and supports the needs of vulnerable children and the elderly, that is 60 years and above, at continental level, UNAD, UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. I serve as a continental treasurer. I am so honored because for the past 2 years, I've learned a lot. I'm still learning. I'm looking forward to see how the board team board UNAD will really put into execution what we have learned, what we have shared from you, Professor. And we believe UNAD as an organization, an international organization, it will stand, and we shall do this, ensuring that our local communities that we are serving, they benefit from what we have learned, we as leaders. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful as I encourage my fellow Africans to be logging into these meetings every Thursday, and the commitment that Professor, you've shown us, it is really positive, and I'm really learning a lot from you and Madam Shula, Stephanie, and I am a great leader. I believe I'm better than the way I was 2 years or 3 years back. Looking forward to be much better than I am now, a better leader, a better team person, and we hope for the best. Thank you so much, and greetings also to Reverend Samson. I've seen him online, and God bless you.
Yes, thank you so much, Malaika. So we are moving forward. It is a slow process. It is a very novel concept, what we are trying to do, of course. And the development of the network is taking time, and it evolves. But now that we have most of the major components of the network established, we are now working forward with developing a business plan here, so we can begin, as I had mentioned, of course, during our initial call, to engage, especially in a program of development of engagement with our own local community, but also with the global community as well. So thank you, Samson. You have a few words to say before we close up today?
Thank you so much, Professor. I'm very grateful to be here. I greet also my sister Malaika from Uganda. It has been long since I attended this EDU summit for every Thursday because of a lot of issues and challenges and events that we cannot stop because they are God-planned events. But I want to say I am very, very, very glad and I appreciate your concern and also whatever you are doing. I will not say much today, but I think from today, I'll be available for every meeting. And I'm also praying that, as my sister has said about the board, I believe that the board will come up with a strong logistics and actions that will make UNAD to become a strong organization in Africa. I want to thank God for what the Lord has been doing. And I know what you are doing is not in vain. It is something that is going to change our communities, and also it is going to make a change globally. I appreciate your hard work. I appreciate your presentations. And as said by our sister, that whatever you are doing is giving us some learning points that we get knowledge day by day. So thank you so much. I want to appreciate what God is doing. And I know, as you have said, it is slow by slow. You know, when I was registering Bridges of Hope, I knew it would kick on the very day or immediately. But I want to tell you, things grow slow by slow, slow by slow. And as you had seen in the board platform, I shared something that is giving funds to Africa, especially areas that should be restored. I believe that there are a lot of organizations. There are a lot of organizations that are meeting today, because I have my website. I have some few connections and partnership. There are a lot of things that they are sharing with me. I will be keenly checking up what can help Africa, and I believe that I'll be sharing it to the board. And I know at the end of the day, because the one I just shared today, actually they approved my application, and they are going to give us funding as Bridges of Hope. And we believe that we are going to do something in community and restore our land. So let's just work together. Working together, we will not know what may come or what will happen. In the next few days to come, that is around mid or towards the end of May, there is an organization that actually it is called Climatic Agricaton Organization. It is in Britain. They have done some through the embassy of British. They came to my office. They have done some analysis. We have talked, and they are giving us 60,000 trees that we are going to plant across Kenya. So I believe this is a very good project that is going to help us also do something. So once the board will meet, I will give some suggestions on how to connect to these organizations that can help us to promote our projects and our activities. Therefore, God bless you so much. Malaika, God bless you so much. I believe that we'll meet soon.
So this is excellent news. Thank you.
And please, Malaika, contact me maybe immediately when we are through.
So this is the type of thing that happens when you're open to developing these partnerships, and you partner from the local community with all of these global organizations that have these programs, these campaigns, this funding that's available there. You just need to know about it. You need to apply for it. You need to be ready to do that work of organizing yourselves so that you can move into a mode where you're not just now hopefully just accepting donations and thinking of yourself only as recipients, but you're now also moving into this mode of saying, I am creating a business ecosystem in my local community that can now then think about becoming self-sufficient. And so at some point, no longer needing those grants and those funds that are coming from outside your own communities. So this is how we want to eventually evolve our organization so that we can empower everybody to become the self-sufficient communities that they can be. And it's possible. So thank you, Samson. Thank you, Malaika. And I will end the call now. We have been on for just a little over an hour, about 70 minutes. So Thank you. I did put a few other things into the chat, just as you were talking, Samson and Laika, just as they are the events that are coming up, of course, as we move forward. So they are the big events that we are going to be doing this year. So those we have to keep in mind in our heads as we consider all of the things we do together. So thank you all, and I will hopefully see you next week.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Professor. God bless you too. Thank you, Madam Shelley. Greetings, Reverend.
Greetings to you.
Bye-bye.